Hey everybody, good energy to you guys. So again, I'm getting back into working more on the PowerPoint presentation and just ironing out more of the intricacies involved and what it takes, in my opinion, to create an infrastructure that's independent from this satanic or toxic one. And so yeah, just continuing to go over, proofread, and add where I feel need be. But as the more I look at it, a lot of the basic necessities to at least get this thing going, I feel are if not close to being there, already there. We know what hemp can do. I mean, I've shared a lot of information about what hemp can do, which has tons of its own fucking beautiful, wonderful, miraculously healing benefits for people and the land and, all that. Also counters capitalism. However, there already, like, there was this hemp dwelling that I looked into. It's a really, I mean, from when you don't look at the price, it's a great idea. But this little, like, I think it was 8 feet. Um, no, it was 12 feet long, 8 feet tall, 6 feet wide. Little cabin made out of hemp. They're selling for $15,000. Which, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's, not much at all compared to a house. Now, it's probably not even the size of this room right here, but that's still a lot of money. $15,000 for a very small shack is really all it was. And again, I mean, this is profit. People are trying to make more than they need, and they're taking from the earth, they're exploiting it, turning it into their own fucking creation and selling it, again, for more than they need. And this has been what the driving force of America. And it's led to, numerous levels of exploitation and corruption. And so it's just, seeing things like, and this is where I was afraid. I wasn't afraid, I just knew it was going to come. I knew that they were going to start using hemp as another product to sell to the people. And now that we're living in times when so many people are interested in self-sustainability and all these things, it's just, it's another way to make money, sadly. But anyways, I wasn't trying to get into the whole hemp dwelling and all that and this. But my point is, from a, potential to help create infrastructure, you need a way to perpetuate our resources. We need a way to give people jobs. We need a way to give people something to do. We need a way to grow. So that's what the hemp is here to do. It grows quickly. It's hardy. It can grow. You can turn it into so many different businesses. And with the multi-purpose center idea, I mean, the list of jobs, is unlimited. It depends on how much attention and how much people really want to be about it. But the pizza idea is something that I threw out there because I have pizza experience, and people do love to eat pizza. It's not the healthiest food out there, but you can make, a fucking vegetarian pizza is much healthier than a meat lover's pizza, for instance. Especially if you're making it with hemp. In the dough in itself. Now, it's not going to taste the same as normal dough. But, people, that's just what happens. Food tastes differently based on the different qualities that it has. People are used to eating all these processed sugars and shit, and it has a particular taste. So when they bite into hemp dough, I don't know if you guys have ever eaten pizza with a wheat crust, but there's a definite difference. And I'm going to say that the same, it's going to be very similar probably with hemp. It's not going to have the same type of pizza taste that we're used to growing up here in America. But it's going to be much healthier for you, and it's going to be in cahoots aligned with this whole system of transmutating this sick fucking realm into a healthier realm. So it's just part of the process. It's just one idea. You can make fibers. The fiber from hemp is way better than cotton and all these other fibers out there. It's antibacterial, it's antimicrobial, and antifungal. So I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. All these good reasons for the hemp, but until we cultivate a different perception of how we use the resources that the earth and God has given us, the hemp bank can't only, it's really that's the key to everything, is changing our perception. The hemp is here and it's a wonderful tool to be used, but in order for us to really learn the lessons, which is a love of money, in my opinion, that we have a problem with, and sin and power and all that shit, then the hemp can't do anything, man. Because again, the hemp, it can kill the toxic cells in your body, but if you're continuing to do toxic things in your life that bred and fed that cancer inside of you, then, the hemp's not going to cure it. The hemp's only going to act as something that keeps it away and at bay, but you shouldn't need to consume something that keeps cancer away all the time. That's not you learning the lesson of cancer. That's you continuing to medicate yourself and put a band-aid on a problem that's, you know, not being dealt with properly. So we can use hemp to help transmutate and move us along into a better place for all. But ultimately, it really is the perception. We got to get over this perception of money. We got to get over this perception of ownership. We got to get over our selfish desires and learn to share and love one another and stop being so fucking critical and judgmental of everybody and so hateful and blaming. We're all right where we are because we put ourselves here. You know, we all have free will. We all have the ability to choose and make choices, and we need to take accountability and responsibility for the things that we've done. You know, America has not been a good, you know, there's been a lot of fucked upness that have gone on to things that have happened here in America. And we've spread that fucked upness all over the world to greater or lesser degrees based on all of our own individual involvements, man. And it's time that we all take accountability for the effects that we're having and have had and are continuing to have on the planet. And also just recognize that, like, okay, now that we see what, you know, all this capitalism and all this money loving and grumbling and rat chase and shit has done to us, where do we go from here? Do we continue on as we have been, you know, especially with everything else that's going on, or do we change? You know, and what type of change does that look like? What type of change is really going to bring about new and good growth? You know, because there's talk about states coming together, which is awesome, you know, especially if they're for goodness. But, you know, what lesson have we learned here? Like, are we going to go back to are we going to just develop a different money system and then just create different jobs? You know, I mean, what's the change? You know, I mean, that's my point. It's like, okay, we see that there's this evil entity inside of America and we have states that want to get away from it. But what's really different about them than is about the others? You know, are they still going to be about working for money and all these things that we really don't need? Or are we going to change the way our whole culture is run? Because that's what I think we need. We need a new whole change in culture, man, or a cult, which is just a way of doing things. So in order to do that, you know, it's all about the jobs, it's all about the livelihood, the atmosphere, the environment, you know, the responsibilities, the accountability, all those things go into creating a culture. So how do we change all that? Well, you know, the most effective way to do it is to really just relocate to a different area, and you just completely change your ways, your whole life, the whole way, your routines, the way you do everything changes. You be an example for that. You share that with the internet. You keep promoting how good it is. We develop little jobs and systems of commerce like this pizza parlor, you know, the developing our own clothes, you know, herbal supplements, services that we can all do, just growing food, distributing food, helping share the message. There's a lot of different things we can do. Like I said, we can get into developing our own law enforcement, get into developing your own education system. There's a lot of different jobs to do, but we need the infrastructure to provide the resources that we need to live in order to do those jobs. But in order to do that, we got to first get away from this infrastructure, because right now this infrastructure has us dependent on a way of doing things that's not conducive with good. It's not helping the child trafficking situation and the human organ harvesting situation. In fact, it's perpetuating it a lot, because a lot of these jobs are making us sick. A lot of these jobs keep us away from our families. A lot of these ways of doing things sends our children to schools where they're at higher risk of being kidnapped. I mean, it's fucked up, but it is what it is. A lot of these kidnapping things happen because there's people with vehicles who are stationed in certain areas, and they have lookouts, and they have a whole team organized and ready to just take a kid at the perfect moment. You know, when somebody's just not looking, it takes those few seconds for somebody just to throw a kid in a fucking van and get off. But if you're living away out in the woods, out in the country with a bunch of like-minded people, how is a van just going to pull up and take a kid away? Like, first of all, you would want to have, you know, with the times that we're in, you're going to want some protection. You're going to want some sentries. You're going to want some people observing strangers that come by, especially if you're being about a place that's trying to offer sanctuary or is offering sanctuary for those in need. You know, the enemy's going to come and try to attack. It's going to do what it does to fucking, you know, poke a hole in that fucking protective bubble that we're attempting to create. So, you know, interrogating strangers, interrogating people that want to come, you know, that's just something that needs to be done in the times that we're in to see who's fucking really about, who they really be about. You know, transparency is key. So my point is, by us getting away from these big cities and rebuilding in smaller areas with like-minded people that we have come to know and trust, that will in itself provide a protection from kidnappers. There's also not all these underground tunnels. Like all these cities, these major cities have all been built over and built over and built over for decades and hundreds of years and maybe even longer than that. So they all have little inner workings and underground tunnels and ways of doing things that allows for these type of operations to flourish. But if we move away from these cities, they will no longer have these tunnels and underground ways of doing shit that allows them to continue to kidnap kids. So that in itself is just another actual physical way to protect ourselves and our children. So anyways, I'm just going to keep coming at you guys. I love y'all. Have a good day. Bye.